When I was a lad, I did 3 dozen twinks every morning because I was hard. And now that I'm grown, I do 5 dozen twinks because my milkshake brings all of the boys to the yard.
We're back, baby.
What episode is this, Matt?
This is the 18th? I don't know.
18th, baby. Lucky 18.
And
we got our friend and colleague,
Donnie Marsh.
Donnie Marsh on the iPodcast.
I want to introduce Donnie. We have Donnie on because I'm not trying to butter you up. I really do think you are, in this city, the best power washer and window cleaner and comedian.
Yes.
All 3.
Yes, I have seen a customer naked before. No, it was not who I would have picked.
Marty Bartow's coming for the title, though.
He is coming for the title.
I'm not threatened.
Who's Marty seen naked? No one knows who these people are. It's good to have you, Donnie. Donnie's our good friend. He's got a lot of funny stories. He's also a history buff, and we are testing out what it's going to be like if we interview people. So Donnie is our second interview. Our first interview was good, but Matt ended up sleeping with our guest, so we just didn't do it for a while.
Whoopsie.
Whoopsie. That's what Matt says when he gets in trouble. Oopsie daisy.
But yeah, been a fun week. This past week, it was mine and Raina's 1-year anniversary, so that was
all right.
Excited. We went to a fancy restaurant. I had fried goat cheese, and goddamn, it was so good.
Yeah,
I never had like goat cheese like that before.
I will say this: that
also had duck. It was unbelievable.
Oh, nice.
I'm out a lot of money them lasting this long, actually. So
you were the only one who doubted it.
Yeah, no, it's good. We're happy for Matt.
Well, I mean, like besides you, I mean, actually, you were the first person, and then Donnie was the second person. But like we were together like a few months before we came out publicly.
That's right.
Yeah. Came out of the closet, if you will.
Talk to the mic, Donnie.
Yes. And last week I made a point of telling you that I think you're a really good couple.
Thanks,
I really like being around you.
Yeah,
and I don't say that to many couples.
He's never said that about me and my wife.
I have not.
He doesn't. Well, Donnie, time for the number one interview question. I actually learned this one from you. Why are you the way you are?
Where do you want me to start?
At the beginning.
So Donnie told me this story about his birth, and I don't know if Matt has heard the full story. But Donnie, tell us when your mother was due with you, and then tell us what your birthday is.
Okay, so it was a different time. I was born on October 9th, 1980, the last fumes of the Carter administration. And they did things a little differently in hospitals back then. Now, again, this is family lore.
Okay.
I do not know.
Because you were in utero.
Yeah, and my parents are not always 100% reliable narrators.
Sure.
As none
Most
of us.
Parents are.
Yeah. But I am told that I was born 6 weeks late.
6 weeks?
I was 10 pounds.
Wait, you were born at 10 and a half months. At 10 and a half months.
This is what I am told. Yeah. Another part of that is that my mom apparently called into a radio station on Labor Day because I was already
on Labor Day.
On Labor Day as a joke. Yeah.
The holiday or the day of her labor?
The holiday.
Oh, okay.
The holiday because I was already overdue. And she called into the radio station. I don't know. Again, not a lot to do back then.
Sure.
Clearwater, Florida.
Radio.
And so she asked for like suggestions from people, like how do I induce labor on my own?
I just smoke a couple of cigarettes, take a few shots.
I know someone told her to sit on a washing machine, which may have been. Yeah,
it may have awakened something else inside of her.
I don't know. But anyway, it didn't get me out of there. Apparently, I had a list of demands or something. I had her hostage.
A squatter.
They finally got me out October 9th.
Like he was stuck in a whale.
They
finally got me out.
So I was a C-section.
Okay.
They were very, very concerned for my health.
He started coming out sideways.
I think you would still be in there if it weren't for the C-section.
Yeah, they got me. I was very hairy. Full head of hair. full of head of hair.
Several teeth.
Yeah. You lost your baby teeth in utero.
Fingernails look like Nosferatu.
They got me out, and I apparently scored a 1 on the APGAR test, which is like the scale of 1 to 10, how healthy is your baby test.
And 1 is bad.
1 is bad. 1 is not what you want. Most babies are a 9.
This is a very giant, sickly baby.
I had inhaled a bowel movement.
There's not enough blood in his body to fill his body.
I had been without oxygen for a while because of the poop. Couldn't breathe. So the doctors...
The poop?
The doctor got ahead of it and told my parents right up front that if I lived, I would be severely mentally handicapped, which, as you can see, not at all. So they were at the very first picture. There is my dad holding me like he's looking down, and I look bad. I look like, by newborn standards, I look like I'm having a rough go.
I just envisioned Donnie as the baby Grinch.
Yeah.
He's just hairy and green.
Donnie's
kinda like-
dad just holding this 15-pound baby with the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck several times around his neck. Looks like a telephone cord.
It's like he's playing tetherball with the baby's head.
It was poop. It was poop.
Okay, it was the
No,
poop.
no, it
Why
was
do
the
you
poop.
keep coming back to this?
Because
He
that's the
inhaled the bowel
fact. I
movement.
did not have a wrapped around my. It wasn't. I didn't have a blue face.
Wait, your own bowel movement?
Yes.
Oh.
No, I didn't
Well,
like
I didn't know.
do a line of my mom's.
It happens.
Coming out. Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah. Well,
They poop when the woman poops.
they do. They do. That's strange.
man.
That's
Oh,
never
but
come
not
up.
a C-section though.
That's
so
never
maybe
come up
not
in this
as
story.
much on a C-section.
Well,
I don't know. She was pushing for a long time. She was in labor for
they
like
had to do an
over.
uppercase.
I think she was in
C-section.
labor for 26 hours before they finally did a C-section.
man.
Couldn't get me
Good
out.
God.
They blamed the size of my head.
yeah, sure.
So they cut her open, got me out, and so my dad has to go to work, the next day as a bread truck driver for Merida, and the whole time he's thinking he might get news that I'm dead again.
Okay.
So 2 days pass. And I'm fine.
The doctor.
I'm
knows.
totally fine. The doctor is like, false alarm.
This baby can read already.
Actually, fully healthy baby.
He's picked up a lot of words in the room.
My dad was so mad. He was so mad that the doctor scared him like that he
Never trusted medicine again.
marched back to the doctor's office and was just like, I'm going to give that doctor a piece of my mind. And the doctor's assistant or secretary there stopped him and was like, hey, what are you here for? And he's like, well, it was like, doctors told us that like my son might die and like he'd be severely handicapped and he's totally fine and he scared us. And the doctor said, before you speak to him, just know that he had a son with Down syndrome last year. So before you go yell at him, just keep in mind that you have a healthy baby and he does not.
Wow.
And my dad was like, and left.
Great coaching by that.
Yeah.
Great. I know.
Yeah,
I
that
know.
guy-
That's a Phil Jackson. Just like,
Yeah.
hey, let's put things in
We
perspective
should
here.
get this nurse or secretary like
On the pod.
on the
Yeah.
podcast. Honestly, I want to interview the 1-year-old Down syndrome kid. I want to see how he's doing.
Did they need to?
It's probably fine.
Yeah, it's probably doing
totally
well.
fine. Yeah. But apparently they still said I was deaf.
Okay, because of the bowel movement in your ears, probably.
But my parents were like, hey, we'll
take deaf.
Yeah, we'll take deaf. Deaf is no problem.
Deaf over deaf.
Yeah. But then they said they took me, and this is where again, I don't really understand the narrative because my parents became born again Christians when I was 6 months old off of, and at the time my dad was 22, my mom was 24. And, my dad had grown up Catholic, but never hadn't taken that seriously. My mom grew up Lutheran, but like going to church camp sometimes, but like not really taking it seriously. And a church in Florida put out an ad saying that Jesus was coming back in April of 1981, and you better be ready. And my parents were like,
They took out a full-page ad.
They did. Yeah, they don't let just anyone do that. And they were like, there's like, that's probably not true. My dad was like, that's probably not true. So, but if it were, I'd be in pretty big trouble.
Yeah.
Like I'm a sinner. I'm definitely a sinner. And my dad was, he was working for Merita, and this is before they had barcodes on the bread. So you could, when you're loading the bread in, you just be like, rack of bread, and then be like, okay, and they'd count it, and then you could take it out the side door and then sell that same rack of bread to the grocery store again.
Okay.
And just pocket the money and distribute the bread elsewhere to ducks. I don't know. I never heard this part of the story. Like, what did you do with the extra bread?
Yeah.
But anyway, there were some bread truck drivers who were driving very nice cars based on their bread thievery. And my dad claims he was only stealing enough to break even.
Okay.
Because Merita was stealing from their employees' paychecks.
Oh.
And so it was kind of like Merita was like, yeah, we'll give you extra bread, whatever, we're keeping your money. You do your crimes and we do ours. And so my dad felt really bad about this because he thought of himself as like a conservative or libertarian, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And thievery is not so much that. So he felt guilty. And so he was like, April, boy, we don't have much time. I don't have time to read like the whole Bible. So he skipped straight to Revelation.
Okay.
And read the book of Revelation. Couldn't really make heads or tails of it because it is a notoriously confusing book. But he did gather that if you were right with God, you're okay and you go to heaven. And if you're not, you get trapped on earth to be stung by scorpions or something. So he was like, told my mom's like, you gotta read this. You gotta think about this. Like, what do you believe? And she's like, I don't know. I don't really like to think about this. And he like pushed her. And finally they both repented of their sins. They prayed and they felt a lot better. And they went into church. And by this point they'd already like taken me into church to get christened, which again, I'd always heard that like they weren't Christians and they were like they got saved at this point. But then I thought about it more. I was like, why am I in a christening gown as a baby? Like, why was I being dedicated if you weren't Christians? And my mom said, that's just what everybody did back then. I was like, wait, so you were Christians, you were just very bad Christians.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, kind of. I was like, okay.
Most of America back then.
Or now. Yeah. So somebody had prayed for me when I got christened, and then my mom noticed when I was like 3 months old that I actually could hear and I was responding. So
you were healed.
Wait, so they
healed.
thought you were deaf for 3 months?
That's what I hear.
It's like a Helen Keller type situation.
That's what, not like that, but again, I don't know.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Side note, I just thought of this. The Tribulations would be a pretty good a cappella group name.
Yes.
I thought.
Pale horse. I'm pale horse. I call it. You can be pestilence or whatever.
Yeah. Ooh, I like pestilence.
A pale horse.
I like pestilence.
What are the other horses?
Famine.
Okay.
I don't think pestilence is really one of them. I saw a video about this recently.
Isn't it a famine, war, pestilence, and just death? I think one is just death, which feels like cheating.
Looking for your phone. You got it. Okay, let's see what the horses are.
The Theo Von thing. Pull that up. Pull up pale horse.
Pull it up, Matt. Yeah. Pull up the horse.
Yeah. They became born again Christians when I was 6 months old. I was 3 when I joined.
It's war, famine, death, and conquest.
Oh,
conquest! I actually saw a video recently that was like, it's pestilence. Everybody thinks it's pestilence, but it's apparently like
this is the Berenstein versus Berenstein conundrum. This is the Mandela effect. I think it's pestilence. I think that someone changed the Bible.
Which time?
Yeah, right.
Did you ever highlight your Bible and like just highlight things that seemed cool to you? Because I had a Bible when I was a kid that just had Whore of Babylon highlighted. I was like, it's in capital letters. It must be important.
The Bible for some kids was just a curse word search.
Kind of. Yeah. No one would tell me what it meant.
But Mom, the Bible says ass.
Yeah.
No one would tell me how to blaspheme. I was like, "What if blasphemy is the unforgivable sin? Shouldn't I know what exactly it is?
and
So
it's like, yeah,
I
exactly.
don't do it."
It's like,
And they'd
don't
be
use the Lord's name in vain. And it's like, oh,
I was like, that can't be it.
Yeah.
That can't be the real one.
yeah, using the Lord's name in vain. It's like, oh, it just means saying, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't mean like using God for nefarious purposes and using God to influence people to your own, betterment. It's saying, "Oh my God."
In other news, I got this Trump Bible y'all should see.
We all grew up religious, so
Yeah, have we not covered that?
Well,
we have.
we have.
Oh, we have.
Donnie's been doing stand-up a long time. I've been doing stand-up about the same amount of time as Donnie. I met Donnie.
Yeah, you
think
started.
y'all
you were one of the good ones when I started. We were like, hey, he's pretty good.
I think y'all both started like a year before me.
I met Donnie at the Giggles Grill, which is long dead, but that was a fun time, man. We had a lot of fun at Giggles Grill. That was a
great time.
Yeah.
That was a great time.
I heard some of the feuds there were legendary.
So for everyone's edification, the Giggles Grill is the Comedy Catch is the club in Chattanooga. We all perform at the Comedy Catch. But years ago, when me and Donnie first started, there was the Comedy Catch, and then the bar area had a restaurant called the Giggles Grill, and every other Saturday there was an open mic, and the good comedians would perform in the club, and the new and bad comedians would perform at Giggles Grill. And it was a lot of fun, man. We might not have been the best, but we had a good time.
Some of the hardest times I've ever laughed.
Yeah.
Do you remember the guy who had never done stand-up before? He was in an Advance Auto Parts shirt, and he thought that he had to do all 5 minutes.
Yes.
Do you remember? He was sweating. He was very nervous. He got up and 30 seconds in just blanked hard and was like, oh, what was I fucking, oh, fuck, oh, was it, you ever, and he tried to like he thought if he kept talking, eventually like the words would pop in, and he's just like swearing up a storm, just sweating, and I'm looking at just like Bryant Smith, and we're like, this is the greatest night of our lives.
Yeah.
We were crying, laughing so hard.
There's so the thing about open mic comedy is like it's so bad for most of it, but sometimes it gets so bad it's hilarious again.
The room effect.
Especially at comedy clubs, because at comedy clubs there is a way higher density of people doing comedy for the first time, but also doing comedy on a dare.
Yes.
Because they lost fantasy football.
Yeah, or they lost fantasy football. That's the best. That's my
always,
favorite comedian.
Yeah, it's always so fun when like, oh, I'm doing this because I lost a bet. And it's like, oh, well, I've dedicated my life to this.
Yeah.
What's the average number of drinks that you think that the performers have all had?
At the Comedy Catch now?
Well, at the Giggles Grill open mic back then.
I think
on Saturday
that we all
afternoon.
probably were drinking like about 10 beers.
Yeah, I would say like 4.2 would be my guess on like where.
I would say that the minimum though was about 4.
Yeah, I mean, like when you went up, you were already.
I mean, I remember getting beers by the buckets there.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. We had a lot of fun back then. But yeah, dude,
that's over now.
It's over now. We're all sober except for Matt, who we're trying to convince Matt he needs help.
Then the Comedy Catch moved to the Choo Choo,
which I want to talk to you guys about the play that you guys were both in at this place at the Comedy Catch. What was the name of the play you guys were both in, and what were your roles?
It was a gay redneck musical parody entitled Bubba and the Beast. I played, remember in Beauty and the Beast, the Belle's dad?
Mm-hmm.
I played like Belle's dad, but it was hairspray. So I played a woman with a full beard named Mama Q.
Yes. Bubba and the Beast was written by Bubba Q, local legend, who I had just met.
Okay.
And I have a really bad habit of saying yes to almost anything that I think will never happen.
Yes.
So, and in comedy, people have ideas all the time. They're like, it'll be great. We're going to do this. And you're like, sure. They're like, would you like to be a part of this? Sure. Because it'll never happen.
Yes.
You won't make it to the first rehearsal. Like, we're writing sketches. We're doing a podcast. We're doing this thing. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm down whenever. And then it doesn't happen. this had all the earmarks of a project that will not come to fruition.
A full-length gay parody musical of Beauty and the Beast.
Which
scene for scene, basically.
And the reason was there were so many moving parts.
Yes.
You had to fill every single role. Every role in Beauty and the Beast was represented in a grotesque form. Like there was, instead of Cogsworth and Lumiere, the clock and it was a dildo and a butt plug.
The clock and the candlestick.
And the candlestick,
Yeah.
It was a dildo and a butt plug. I was Gay Stone, which again, the Gaston character, and like I'm not gay, but I know a compliment when I hear one. And
Yeah,
Gaston is like he was the hottest Disney villain of all time. And when a gay man says like, "Hey, I'd like you to do this, you have a big singing part. You're going to play Gaston," you do not say no. I'm just like, "Oh, sure."
You had your own song, didn't you?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
The no one. Yeah. Oh,
Well, how
do you
does
want
it
me
go?
to
Sure, sing it. Let's hear it.
Okay. First, I need to say that he did get a cease and desist from Disney's lawyers, even though it would be protected under
Oh,
parody
for sure.
law.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But they did say like, well, yeah. So it did make it to one thing. But anyway, he rewrote all the songs, and so I got to sing, when I was a lad, I did 3 dozen twinks every morning because I was hard. And now that I'm grown, I do 5 dozen twinks because my milkshake brings all of the boys to the yard.
No one
Fucks like Gaston knows. It just sucks.
No one sucks like Gay Stone.
Gay Stone, yeah.
I'm especially good at what was it?
Ejaculating. I was just like the most obvious replacement lines, but it was so hilarious, and Bubba worked so hard on that thing. I mean, it was a full script. He did his job.
Yeah, he worked real hard.
We were incapable of doing the job as well as it deserved, though.
For sure.
I will not name names, but there were singers in the musical who are tone deaf.
Yeah, sure.
And had no sense of rhythm
And
or
the other part was they didn't remember any of the words to
they also did not
song.
remember. So
They kept saying, "Tell as old as time, tell as old as time, true as it could be, tell as old as time."
Like, is this part of the parody?
Bubba and the Beast.
and that's like the longest song. It's the longest song in the whole thing.
Tell as old as time.
Didn't y'all have like a pianist that quit the day before the opening night?
He was fired, I believe. I'm not sure. There were some big arguments that I wasn't around for. I have never drank more. I have never drank more in my life than I did during those 3 months. We did make it to show. There's no video of this, but I think it was March 2018. We landed the plane, one performance at the Comedy Catch.
And the background fell.
Yes, the background
that
fell
was
down.
the funniest thing ever. It was the bar scene, and Donnie and the other people in the bar are all like, "Ha!" And one of the walls falls down, and without missing a beat, Donnie goes, "I told you we shouldn't have came to Applebee's." It was perfect.
Improv, baby.
It was perfect.
Yeah, that was a proud moment. But
And just imagine like Elijah and Dave Hanna and Ben Levine trying to do like choreography.
yeah.
It was
Bridget Martin was the narrator. Bryant Smith was the director, and Lil Dude instead of LeFou, he was supposed to be Gay Stone's sidekick.
Okay.
So
pretty good casting.
yeah, it was a solid casting. But I mean, and he's got theater experience. He can sing, but he was also the director, and he had an issue with the musician, the guy who was supposed to do musical accompaniment, who did not. I mean, he had sunk some money into like microphones and all this stuff, and he and Bryant got into it over something, and the musician was let go, which was honestly kind of a relief.
Okay.
Because I don't think he was quite there. He was just going to play keyboard the whole time. For him to follow the people who couldn't sing would have just would have been chaos. Like it was hard enough because there's no beat, and so he's really being dragged along by the singer.
Right.
It's like you're walking a Great Dane,
Yeah.
and that Great Dane is just going, "Tale as old as time, tale as old as time," and so it was logistically, I think it was a smart play, but yeah. So we're just belting out these acapella, no microphones. We're just shouting the songs, and Matt can yell. Matt did not have a problem. I'm pretty loud, and I think most everybody else did okay. But yeah, there were a few places where it's like, I know Ben Levine was playing the butt plug, and I think he forgot his line at one point, and he just like looked back at me in panic, just like. He didn't get that many funny lines. It was more of an existential comedy thing. Like, isn't it funny that this guy is covered in a black trash bag? It is kind of shaped, presumably, like a butt plug.
Yeah, it was just like he had been wrapped in bubble wrap, and then they just put a trash bag over his head.
We asked a lot of our audience.
Yeah, sure. I was there.
Yeah.
Oh man.
What was your impression of it?
I thought it went better than I thought it would have.
Yeah.
I was asked to be a part of this and I declined.
Now, in the moment, I might be like, "Oh, that's fun," but this is a really fun memory for me. And now that it's years later, I'm very glad that I did it.
I'm really glad I did it. I think our extras would disagree.
Yeah, sure. You guys
Like,
were-
I had a good part.
Yeah, we both had big parts.
Well, and also Bubba Q was the star who I don't think we've mentioned.
Oh,
is
yes.
like 52 years old at this point,
Yes.
and like a gay redneck.
He's doing a lot better these days. But at the time he was a 50-something kitchen worker at the Comedy Catch.
He was the manager.
He was
but-
manager? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't mean to, I guess, denigrate my producer, but he had written basically this script where I am just obsessed with him in the trailer park, and like where this whole thing takes place in a trailer park, and I'm just like,
Hey y'all.
yeah, and I'm just and Bryant as little dude goes like, I was like, well, why? It's like, why do you want him? And I'm just like, because I deserve the best. So just like right off the bat, just Scott Samuels was in it as the Beast, who's and Scott is a burly, muscular guy who again just got to be hugged by Bubba a lot.
Yeah.
I played Bubba's mother. And like the scene, if you're in the actual movie where they get chased by the wolves, the dad gets chased by the wolves. Bubba was like, "Oh, you should because you're a mountain of a woman. You're just a burly mountain of a woman." So like, I turned on the wolves and like fought them. And I remember Bryant was like, because he like loves wrestling. He was like, "It should be really great if you just gave me the chair, like in wrestling." So in the middle, and he was like, "Don't hold back." So I smacked the shit out of Bryant with a folding chair in the middle of the Comedy Catch in front of like 100 people. It was fun.
Yeah, and Bryant was really directing this, like, like I'm trying to. Who's a famous movie director who's like really put his cast through hell? But that's
Stanley Kubrick.
That's the romance of it. Like that's the legend. They're like, oh, like he's very hard on you, but he'll bring the best out of you.
Yeah.
And Bryant was like, this is my chance. This is my chance to show what I got.
That was his Kubrick moment. Nice.
He about half.
Donnie's just what's her name, Wendy or
Shelley Duvall.
Shelley Duvall. Yeah, it was like 119. Bryant swinging axe.
Oh man.
No, but it really set the tone. Our very first like table read, Bridget and Bryant showed up drunk. Just like right off the bat, they'd gone to hair of the dog beforehand, and we were like, okay, all right. And I was just thinking, like, I knew this wasn't like we're not really going to do this. Like, we're going to have a few bad practices, and but I'm not going to quit. But I won't have to.
Right.
And it just kept going. It just kept happening. We had 2 practices a week. And it's during winter. I'm not busy, with business or anything, and so I was just like, all right, I guess I'll just go. I'm like rolling in there with a Starbucks Trenta cup of gin and tonic.
Yeah.
Just it was not a good time.
That's so funny, man.
It was kind of a good time.
It was a good time, but like I look at pictures of myself then I'm like, I can't believe I thought I looked good. Like I'm just like
Yeah, Donnie, you were pudgier and Matt was thinner back then.
Yes.
Just stating facts.
I prayed.
That's good.
Yeah.
I could not fit in that dress today.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right now.
Donnie,
I could not fit in the dress.
Donnie also produces the Lookout Comedy Festival in Chattanooga. We've had a few of those. There's still a little bit of time left to apply to that, right?
Yep. July 15th.
July 15th.
When the things close down.
It's a good festival.
A lot of funny stuff happens at the festival, man. Remember that time that they did I think you guys were both part of the Simpsons fan fiction table read?
That was great.
No, it wasn't The Simpsons. It was
Young Sheldon.
Young Sheldon.
Yeah, Young Sheldon.
Sheldon table read. I was the narrator.
Okay, yeah.
But Elijah Cron wrote it, and he
Young
just
Sheldon lifted
didn't he
the
just
knife.
write Homer Simpson in?
Yeah, that's what it was.
And Ben Levine, who does a great Homer, was just nailing it. Yeah, that was a good time. Yeah, part of the reason that I started the festival was to find out why I wasn't getting into festivals, and taking like submission tapes and just going like, oh, that's another one that's better than me. Oh, that's another one that's better than me. It's like very healthy.
Matt was also telling me that you might have some history stuff that you've been researching. I know you're a history guy.
Yeah.
You said you had like 50 Wikipedia tabs open.
Yeah. Well, I have an associate's degree in history.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah.
And from where?
Santa Fe College in Gainesville,
He
Florida.
associates with
You were
history.
in Gainesville and you couldn't get in, huh?
I couldn't get into UF, no.
Okay.
No, Florida State offered me a full ride.
What?
And UF wouldn't let me in the
Why
door.
wouldn't you go there?
Because I was 17 when I graduated, and I knew I was going to flunk out immediately wherever I went. And I was like, I'm not going to rack up that much debt to live in Tallahassee where I know no one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to flunk out.
Yeah.
So I flunked out close to home.
That's good.
Went back years later and got it together.
And you got another degree, too.
Yeah, got a finance degree from UT
Yeah.
Chattanooga. Go Mocs, whatever that is.
A moccasin,
That's our
right?
thing, right?
Wasn't
Yeah.
it originally a
That's it.
moxican?
Mm-hmm.
If you mess with the mocks,
Don't
you get the horns.
Yeah.
Lock down.
Dude, that's what Raina's been saying.
It's great.
What does she say?
You mess with the tide, you get the horns.
That's what she's been saying. Because she's like, isn't this a Vols thing? And I was like, no, that's Texas. She's like, oh, I thought it was like, if you mess with the Vols, you get the horns. So
UT, baby.
We've just been doing that for everything.
UT, man. She's halfway there. She's kind of right.
You mess with the banana slugs, you get the horns.
What were we saying? Oh, associate's degree of history.
Yeah, but you-
yeah.
What are some historical facts you've gotten lately that are fun?
Oh, so I read a lot of Wikipedia.
Sure, yeah.
A lot. And Wikipedia has like varying quality to
Yeah.
their articles, but the more obscure they are, or the further back in history you go, the more interesting, or the better it often is. So I'm really big into Göbekli Tepe.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, who's that?
Who's that? It's a place.
It's a place.
Oh,
Andrew.
okay. Sorry. But it's named after somebody, right?
No, as far as we know. It's an archaeological find in Turkey
Okay.
that makes Stonehenge look like Lincoln Logs.
Sure, okay.
And it's way older. And it's a huge megalithic. It looks like a worship center, but it's like from before 10,000 BC.
Wow. Okay.
There is a National Geographic, it's not very good, but National Geographic documentary on it, where it's a little dumbed down. But one of the most interesting things in that documentary is that they think that is where humans started to think that we were above animals.
Okay, so it's kind of like that scene in 2001: A Space Odyssey, where the monkeys find the monolith.
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about, Matt?
I do know.
Oh,
what
yeah.
you're talking
I don't
about.
think it's like that, but but I'm glad you have a place to
Sure.
latch on. So I
I think it was more like no animal could build this.
Yeah,
Look
exactly.
how
Like, look
big
at us.
this
Look at us. So it is
is.
kind of like Tower of Babel-y, where it's like people started to like look
Especially
what we can
like
do.
something happened to it. Who
Yeah.
knows why? I mean, it
Yeah,
was
they
buried.
covered it back
Right,
up.
yeah.
Yeah, it was intentionally buried.
Whoa.
So probably a crime scene.
Yeah.
You know, but. Yeah, so there's the Göbekli Tepe, because, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen Cave of Forgotten Dreams, the documentary by Werner Herzog about the cave paintings. And it seems like at that point in the cave paintings, humans and animals are like on an equal footing because they're scary. And, you know, so it's like saber-toothed tigers and things
it's
like that.
Civilization hasn't developed.
And they've also recently, a British puzzle solver or puzzle enthusiast figured out what some of the symbols meant. Next to there's some caves where there would be like a symbol of an animal, and then a bunch of like marks. That is the number of lunar months into which like that animal will ovulate in the year.
What?
Pervert.
So if you have that knowledge, then you know when those animals have to go out to mate, and then that's the hunting season.
Do you
for
think these
those
guys
animals.
knew what ovulation was?
Yeah, probably.
All the women animals are like, he's been writing what on the cave wall?
They're like, we don't have language yet, but we do know
what
an
ovulation
ovum is.
Yeah, and wasn't there like something? I know I talked to you about this before, but wasn't there something in that where it's like they thought that like, oh, this was kept secret and like kind of passed down through like an order or father to son or something, and it's like, oh, I have the secret knowledge.
Right.
I'm so special.
Because the law would be, or millennia later, they would put that on an obelisk because the king would be like, here's what everyone needs to know.
Yeah.
But because this information was kept back in a cave instead of carved out somewhere where everybody could see it, it implies that, like someone could like claim to be a shaman and be like, oh, I foresee this happening. And he's just got the calendar.
Yeah.
Back in his cave.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
He's a snake oil salesman, man.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, Doc Brown just accidentally dropped the Farmer's Almanac.
Yeah, dude.
in a cave.
Yeah, they're predictions of Super Bowls if you go back in there far enough.
It's like there's a picture of a bird and then a picture or just 49 little lines.
What if these shaman were just like really into saber-toothed tigers? Like what if they were trying to like see what's up?
Maybe they were.
I wish we would have domesticated saber-toothed tigers.
I got a feeling we were pretty fucking scared of saber-toothed tigers.
What do you think we should have domesticated that it's probably too late to?
Oh, the mastodon.
Yeah, that'd been good.
Yeah.
I think
is that bigger than the mammoth, the mastodon? I know they're very closely related, but
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay. You mess with the mastodon, you get the
horns,
baby.
Yep.
You get the horns.
That's what
the tusks.
they're known for. They're horns
that come right out of their mouth.
They're known for two things.
They're mouth horns.
They're two things: great metal band and horns.
And the other thing is, being the Black Ranger and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
And it's a new platform that I hear about from time to time.
Mastodon? What is it?
Oh yeah,
it's another like Twitter alternative.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Is anybody on that? Let us know.
We're going to start posting on Mastodon. We'll be the #1 podcast on Mastodon tomorrow.
With 4 views.
Yeah.
Man. Oh, one thing I did want to talk to y'all about. So, I have been a little obsessed in, a morbid kind of way with Dave Ramsey lately.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've watched this video of this guy, breaking down, his financial advice, whatever. But there's, this whole ecosystem of Ramsey Solutions, the company that he runs and owns. And there's been all sorts of weird stuff, he's firing women for getting pregnant out of wedlock and stuff like that. But there was this guy who called into the show and he's like, hey, I've got this much money. I've got $400,000. I'm 34 years old. I got $400,000. He's like, oh wow, man, you worked your butt off. You did real good. And then he's like, and I just saw one of the recent videos that Jeff, your underling, posted, saying that I can only take out, between 3 and 4% once I retire, and I'm just worried that I'm not going to have enough money. And Dave was like, he said what? He's like, he said what? He's like, I hope we didn't release the idiocy the idiocy that the modern financial gurus have been putting out there, just dumb butt stuff. I love how Ramsey always says butt.
Yeah.
He's like,
He's like
I'd be out there working my butt off, taking my butt to work every day, working 75 hours, 80 hours a week with my butt.
Dave Ramsey talks like he's a football coach at a Christian high school.
Yeah, and then he...
I'm going to run your butts into the ground until your butts are too tired to walk.
It makes me picture his butt, too,
Yeah.
saying the word butt.
Yeah.
But basically, Ramsey's like, that's stupid. It's dumb. You can take 8 because of interest and the inflation, 4% average a year. The market grows 12% a year. Take the 4% of inflation off. You can take 8% out, and you'll never run out of money. And I can't believe that someone who works for me posted that you should only take 3% out, 3 to 4% out, because it's dumb. People are going to think that they're never going to be able to retire. And all these like math and finance experts are like, well, here's where, this program ran the study 50 million times. And like, if you take out 8%, you have a 64% chance that you will spend all your money within 20 years. And I just think it's so funny. He reminds me of my dad so much. He just can't admit that he's wrong.
Yeah.
He can't admit that he's wrong.
Okay, guys, we are back.
We got by the heat again.
Hey, that's our promise to you. We will do the podcast until the camera overheats.
Through the tribulation times.
And it is really hot outside, so it didn't take very long. Do you want to thank Donnie for being with us today?
We'd love to have you back, Donnie.
We like
Thank you.
Donnie.
I had a great time.
We'll talk about the...
Donnie's going to have some cool stuff coming out soon, I think, releasing some of your music.
We haven't even talked about that.
Before
Donnie's
too
a
long.
great musical comedian.
Hilarious.
Really funny. I would say check out his stuff, but his stuff ain't anywhere yet. So we're gonna fix that
It
hopefully.
will be.
Here this year. With,
It's a
By the end of the year.
It's
Hunter,
a Dunce
right?
Party production. You heard it here. We own 15%.
Yep.
Of the
If somebody takes me by the hand and drags me into productivity,
Okay.
it'll happen.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Hunter's
fair
gonna
enough.
do that.
Yeah.
So, guys, we appreciate you watching. The 12 of you who do, and we will keep making these until my wife makes us stop. So we'll see you guys later.